From bureaucracy's basement to your ears, this is the weekly meeting of the Queen City Improvement Bureau. Each week, the dedicated staff of the Bureau meet to file recommendations, make reports, and survive on water that drips from the boiler pipes into our open mouths as we sleep in the back room on a bed of dot matrix printer paper. Maybe one day we'll escape from the sub-basement beneath City Hall, but until that day comes, this city is not going to improve itself. So, here we stay. Improving things. This meeting is now in session.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
How are you doing?
Oh, great. I've been very busy.
Have you?
Yes.
I haven't.
I've been no. Well, actually, I mean, we never leave this room, so I can. Yeah. I know that you have not been busy.
I've just been goofing around.
You have been slacking off.
I'm slacking off. Yeah.
I have been.
It's my brand.
I know.
Paul DeShane, slacker.
That's right. Very on brand.
Yeah.
I see you've got actually the hat.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's starting to get chilly.
Yeah, it's
extra water is dripping down here, and so now I'm feeling damp and cold.
Yes, but I mean, on the other hand, we actually have like a supply of water to last us for like the next 24 hours at least.
Yeah, it's nice.
I know.
Nice not to be
luxury.
Not to be living with like water fear or lack of water fear. Yeah. You know what I mean.
Hydrophobia? That's also rabies, I believe.
Yes.
Anyway.
So, we have a meeting today, so we should do attendance.
Attendance. Doing the attendance. Attendance being done. You know what? I'm going to slack off on attendance.
Oh, my gosh.
We're not even here today.
Oh, great.
How are you?
Let's just go then.
We're just disembodied
Turn
voices.
off the machines.
Is that it? Autonomous objects speaking
Yes.
with, not needing volition, acting of their own agency.
That's us.
Sorry, I've been reading Karl Marx lately.
Oh, really?
So
for real?
For real.
Oh,
for real. I
thought you just had a wraparound on a comic book that you were trying to make people think you were smart.
I wish I'd thought of that. No. The new translation of Capital Volume 1 is out, so I've been plowing through it.
Okay.
And in the first page it says, attention, do not use these ideas to start a continent-spanning totalitarian empire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So I think people should read that.
Right.
Yeah.
Little disclaimer, no capitalists were hurt in the production of this philosophy.
A shame, though.
Yeah.
Anyway. So you must be Paul DeShane.
I am Paul DeShane,
okay, you're here.
Yeah,
I must be.
Aidan Morgan.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And we have a guest.
We do.
Somebody from upstairs snuck down here.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah. Okay. We have Kim Sayre, Senior City Planner, Kim Sayre. Hey, Kim.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Yeah?
It's not too bad down here.
We've got water. We've got a bucket of water.
We do.
You're selling
we can share it. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
So we wanted to talk to you because we've heard rumors that you are on the team that's involved with the Scarth Street pedestrian mall. We have also heard that the city, 90% of the city, wants the Scarth Street pedestrian mall to stay a pedestrian mall, and you folks upstairs are going to crush their hopes and dreams. So we wanted to know, are you planning to crush some hopes and dreams?
I will say that we're doing engagement to find out what people want to see on the site. We did do a survey, and we did hear from folks last year that over 90% of the people who responded to that survey, which was really well responded to. There was over 6,000 people that responded, which is really high for a city survey, advocating for maintaining it as a 100% pedestrian space. Okay. And it's really great to have that much passion being shown, quite honestly, in these kinds of projects, this much interest from the public, and we really do want to get it right. And so when the project was delayed to not be constructed this year like it was originally intentioned to 2027, we took the opportunity to reach back out into the community to find out we heard you loud and clear on the traffic access element. There are those who are still advocating for thinking about traffic in some form, whether it's a lane that's open all the time or some times of the day or some season, like some kind of combination. But we also want to find out, what do people want to see and do on that street? What's the experience like? What other things would they want to see beyond either a traffic lane or not a traffic lane? Is there art features? Is there events? Is there activities? That's the kind of the work that we're doing right now. It's like the part 2. Yeah. So hopefully we can reconcile and find a way to make some people's dreams and most people's dreams come true with that street, regardless of the decision.
Nice. And what started all this? Like, why do you have to think about doing something with Scarth Street Mall, apart from just like gussying it up? Like,
fair. There's some infrastructure below that needs to be reviewed, and not just the city. There's other utilities that are beneath our streets, and they need to be upgraded. It's an old part of our town, and as people have experienced, likely in other parts of downtown, there's upgrades that need to be done. So for digging out and having to redo the surface, we wanted to take the opportunity to find out, what should it be? This is kind of an interesting time to be able to, reimagine what we want that space to be like for our future.
Nice. So, do you have like a timeline? Like, when do you plan to have a plan together?
Are you asking about concepts of a plan?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So our timeline is right now till the end of September. We are collecting feedback from folks. We are meeting with businesses and occupants and property owners on the space, talking to a number of community organizations that do active stuff in our public spaces to find out what people want to see and do, what they where the opportunities they see. Then over the next number of months, we're going to draft a vision and a conceptual plan and bring that back to the community in January 2025 for review by folks. Like, did we get this right? This is what we heard from you, and take some more refinements, assuming that somebody's going to say that something must be changed, and then it will go forward to council in March 2025 for a decision on the vision, and which is really going to drive what the plan is. What is the identity of that street? And that will inform whatever that design is. And then construction isn't planned until 2027. So between then, we'll be just increasing refinements of detail of various aspects. So if we're looking for different components to be put on the street, it will be like, okay, well, what kind of seating does that look like? What kind of whatever people come up with. I can't speak yet because we haven't finished that process, but it will be continuing to work with the community to find out, how do we create this space and plan for it in 2027 when it's constructed. So in 2028, it's like we're ready to hit the ground running and really have a vibrant, active space ready to go.
Nice. But is there a budget for this yet?
There is an approved budget of, I believe it's $7.5 million at this point. Yeah.
Except budgets have been like a problem lately, I've noticed.
They have, and nothing's to say that more funds may be needed. Of course, it's kind of dependent on what the decision may be going forward. Right. A lot of that is for the underground part too. It's not just the surface, it's the whole project of having to dig in and potentially replace pipes if that's required, that's kind of a thing. So there is a budget assigned for that, the whole package of the project. But again, to be determined as we go along through the process to see what we actually have to do.
Cool. I'm curious about the survey and the engagement you've done. It sounds like the general consensus among the public is to keep it traffic free. Mm-hmm. Is there anything beyond that? Any more specific vision beyond, or anything that people want to see?
Yeah, for sure. That's what we've been talking to people about mostly this round, trying to gather thoughts on, if you had to just walk, imagine yourself walking down the street, what would you like to be there? What would you want to see? What would make you bring your family and friends that are from out of town and say, hey, we want to go downtown and see, what is it? And so that's what we've been collecting. So there's been lots of things. There's a whole gamut of things, from a roof above it, maybe that was raining that day, so that may have had an element of around that. But we do have inclement weather here, obviously, and it would be a way to make the space more livable for all seasons. But other things too, like different kind of vendors, art, installations that maybe are on a rotation, so it's always changing and not always the same. Lots of ideas around something unique, something that is different that you can't necessarily get in other parts of Regina that you would bring people to, like whether it's something that you can bring your friends to take a picture in front of, and then that's the iconic picture of Regina. There's a wide variety of things of that people are kind of referring to, and that's what we're gathering feedback on right now. So regardless of what is happening on the street in terms of vehicles, what is the other stuff is what we're trying to kind of fill the gaps in right now.
Well, cool.
Yeah, it's been fun.
So if you saw anything that said laser tag in all caps with a bunch of exclamation marks, that was me.
Okay, great. That's good to know.
I'm assuming that because you've been working on this, you've become something of an expert on pedestrian malls and what they can look like. So what are the kinds of things if you were pull some stuff from other cities that they've done with their pedestrian malls, what are some ideas? If we could lead people down a way, what are some ideas that people could start thinking about?
It's a good question. I mean, one of the things I'm going to say is that every city is different, and it's very difficult to just say, hey, that looks amazing in Calgary or that looks amazing in Halifax. Doesn't necessarily will work here. So what we have been doing is exactly what you've said. It's looking at other places, looking at other ped malls. Most places have a lot of seating. Most places have things for something to do, regardless of whether they're always pedestrian or have vehicles. That's very different depending on different cities. Some cities are specifically only pedestrian in the summer, and so they will bring stuff in during that time and then close them off for the winter and allow traffic to go through. I think we have to figure out what's right for us. What do we need here? What works here? We are our area that we're talking about has one entranceway to a major mall. It also has two major office buildings with SaskTel and SGI being on that side, and the Bank of Montreal building, and the two towers on the other end. There's a lot of population, a lot of people around, a lot of vehicles. So trying to think of that context and how they apply in other centers isn't always the same. Sometimes, if you even think we went a block south, it might be a very different kind of pedestrian mall than it would be where it is, just given its particular location. So it's really difficult to be able to say that works there, let's bring it here. But there are some common themes. It's usually a place that offers a variety of food, drink, something unique, whether it's art or things for children to do or things of that nature. It's usually something that's special, something that kind of draws people in, but also may connect them to other parts of their downtown. It's like a stop along the way, and kind of creates that kind of a vibe, just from kind of the Coles Notes version of the things we've been seeing in other places.
Nice. Oh no.
I was going to say, bring back that streetcar.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about that streetcar. People remember that a lot. And actually, that is something that's been really interesting in going to talk to the public, is there are a lot of people that have a lot of memories of being on that street and would love to see some of those things brought back. Streetcar or movie theater or some kind of thing to do that's kind of interesting and something that their whole family can kind of come back and do. But it's kind of funny that we all have that memory, and it's kind of a warm spot in our heart. I just want to add, I missed this, but I think it's really important that what we've heard from other cities that seems to be kind of critical for these kinds of spaces is that they are activated either by the property owners or the business owners themselves that line it, or by others, whether that's our bid or the city or other community partners who run events or people who like to do stuff in public places. You can't necessarily rely on build it and they will come. You have to have that energy around it, which is part of why our engagement right now and some of the work we're trying to do is trying to connect those dots. Well, what do people want to see and do, so we can create a space where these activators will want to come in and do something, and what can we put up as things for people to do once they're there, to kind of create that vibe, and trying to really do that from the beginning rather than thinking about that at the end once it's designed.
What about patios? There is a Badger The
Fat Badger?
Fat Badger, thanks. And there's the other restaurant further north next to the Globe.
Bone and Broth?
Yes. I know, like, this is going way back, but I remember how much trouble that O'Hanlon's had to get their patio. And, now it's like a really important part of the downtown. Are you guys able to, facilitate so that businesses that are on the pedestrian mall could put patios in without having to jump through quite so many hoops?
That's definitely an objective we're working towards. There's a group in the city, I'm not actually sure where they're at, but that's been the objective, is how can we make some of these spaces easier to modify and bring people? And so patios is one of those things. If it's a pedestrian space, it's a little bit different. If you have vehicles going through it, you need different kinds of protocols, but definitely patios is one of the things, to your point, that other cities tend to have around their spaces in the pedestrian mall area. Food and drink, it kind of is complementary to that, and especially in the warmer seasons.
Right. And, okay, so misconceptions or stories that rumors. I was walking downtown, and somebody recognized my voice from these meetings, and they were like, "You're that guy." And I'm like, "I'm the guy." And he's like, "I was an engineer at the city when they put in the pedestrian mall in the beginning." And I was like, "Oh." And he's like, "Yeah. Now, I don't know how much this was, like, I'm never sure how, like, involved somebody is in a thing that they say they're involved in, but he seemed to know a thing or two. And he told me that it was always designed to go back to having cars on it, and that you can just lift the cobblestones out of the ground, and there is a roadbed poured there that's like, ready to go for cars. You just have to, like, lay a layer of asphalt down. And he's like, "I don't know why this is such a big deal. We built it so that you could, like, put cars back on it. That was always the plan. And you just got to take those cobblestones out, and it's ready to go."
So was he an engineer or an old-timey prospector?
Well, he said he was an engineer, but he had prospector vibes.
Okay. If he said tarnation, that's a huge clue?
There was a bit of tarnation.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So do you know anything about this?
I unfortunately do not, but that is something I'd like to dig into.
He says you can actually see it, that if you look at the road, there's like the cobblestones, and there's like a curvy cement line, and that's actually a curb. That when you lift the cobblestones out, there's a curb there.
Interesting.
That's good to go.
Yeah, I will have to do some investigating. I haven't come across that, gentleman, and I don't know that data. But I mean, there's certainly nothing that would you wouldn't need to dig down to create that. We could look at streets kind of like on the plaza. There's also a street that doesn't have curbs where cars can move. So you wouldn't necessarily need to remove the cobblestone feel or the flat space in order to accommodate vehicles. But maybe that was part of their history, that they were trying to keep open to opportunity. It sounds like there might have been some uncertainty about whether their ped mall was going to work at the time that allowed them that flexibility. But sorry, I unfortunately can't confirm that that's true.
Okay.
So I'm actually curious about some of the interests for vehicles on the Scarth Street Mall. What are some of the benefits or the ideas that have been put forward for the benefit of cars on the ped mall?
There's a hope, I think, and that the outcome of being able to do that is a few things. One being that there's more eyes on the street. You have more vehicles that are moving all the time, and it just might create more opportunity for making people feel more safe, that there's always someone around because there can be an opportunity for a car to go by. That's one. Another is that it will improve circulation in the downtown, that it would be easier to move around if vehicles weren't stopped at that place and have to turn on 12th Avenue, for example, or give them another option to go north towards 11th Avenue. Also kind of complementary, not necessarily to traffic itself, but there's been ideas that would be, well, if you did that, could you add parking or laybys to help with some of the businesses in the area to drop off or, stop and, go grab your meal or park for a bit and go shop in the shop. So that's kind of some of the things we've been looking at is how would that work if we were to, Scarth Street is just one block and it's part of a much broader system. So how can we're going to thinking about how do you test some of those things to see what would it mean for movement? Would it make the improvements that people are looking for? Are we just hoping that that's maybe some of the solutions. So that's what people are hoping, that it would be improved security for folks, better circulation, and create more opportunity for people to park. There's also lots of interest in, trying to make it more vibrant downtown with people being able to move through it during the seasons where it's not maybe quite so popular, like in the winter and when the weather's not great. It would just allow a particular liveliness to the area if you had vehicles that were allowed to go through it at that time in particular.
Okay. Yeah. We're on 91.3 FM CJTR, Regina Community Radio. We're the Queen City Improvement Bureau, and we're talking with Kim Sayre, Senior City Planner from the City of Regina, about Scarth Street Mall. So I'm actually one of the people who's skeptical of keeping it a pedestrian mall. I'm not a fan of cars, but one of the things that I've read about is how there was this fad in the 70s to build pedestrian malls, and they've failed pretty much everywhere in North America. Than in Europe, where they have denser populations and they have more of a culture of using their downtowns as cultural hubs. They work beautifully. But most places in North America, they typically have failed, and most pedestrian malls have wound up being kind of like ours, moribund. There's not a lot of traffic there. The businesses are not happy with them. When I moved here, on the west side of the Scarth Street Mall, it was 2 side-by-side employment agencies on your pedestrian mall. And I'm that's not a good use of a pedestrian mall space. You want coffee shops, art galleries, bars.
Things that benefit from walk-by traffic.
Exactly. Yeah. And if an employment agency is needing walk-by traffic, you have a bigger problem in your city. So, I guess, have you guys what do you do? From what I've read, it's very difficult to keep a pedestrian mall happy. What are you guys going to do to jazz it up? I don't know.
Well, we haven't decided if that's what it's going to be yet.
Right.
But that's part of why we're exploring it. Our Regina Downtown Plan, which is actually called Walk to Work, includes a policy to investigate or consider opening the mall to traffic, to improve vibrancy, to improve accessibility to those spaces. So that's what we're doing. I think in that vein of these are difficult to keep successful. Other cities are also having challenges with success of these kinds of spaces. So explore, is this an opportunity to think about this differently in Regina as well, and maybe change what the purpose of that mall is as we go forward. Again, uncertain what the outcome of that will be, but that's part of the exploration, is to find out how do you make these successful. It's funny, we talk to a number of folks in different cities that have both really successful pedestrian spaces, but also ones that are not. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's what is not working here? And it's often that they just lack that activation element. There's something that has to be brought on from a people perspective that makes people want to be there. You need some magnets that somehow bring some people, and then it just keeps bringing more people, and then it becomes kind of a bit of an animal on its own. But if you don't have that, it doesn't magically materialize. And so being able to spend time on thinking about how do we bring people there? And I think that's really important part of the conversation that we're trying to have right now is, what do people want to see? What could we do that would make you want to come, that would make you want to bring your family, your friends, your children, what have you, mom, dad, whoever, and what would that be? And so that we can think about, can we create that vibe here in a way that would make it a successful pedestrian space? Or are there other alternatives? And do we want more of a flexible space, as an example? Could be we want traffic sometimes, like I said, and really the pedestrian part is more the cafes, coffee shops during the day, but in the evening it becomes something different. The use of the space becomes something different. That's something that has been successful in other places as well, and something we're exploring too, because it's really really open right now, which is really great. We have the opportunity to think about what should it be. We're not constrained by what it has to be. There's a bit of time before construction to allow us the time and effort to be able to explore those things more deeply. So let's take it. Let's figure out what should this be, and then go for it.
What about the fact that this intersects with the plaza. So the plaza was supposed to be downtown's living room, and it can be closed off. It can become a pedestrian space, but it's also like a one-way sort of loopy-doop traffic space.
Well, Scarth Street is the kitchen, so you have a kitchen party on Scarth Street.
Oh, that's good. I like that. And everybody wants to go to the kitchen party.
Exactly. See, I'm from the Maritimes, so
yeah.
Exactly.
But have you thought about how are you going to interface these two things? Because
100%.
You've already got, you can see that it's a struggle to activate the plaza, and you'd be adding another space that needs to be activated.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at all the different spaces in the downtown and how they kind of work together. I mean, there's the plaza, which of course was built to be activated for major events, and it has been successful over in the time that it's been there. But it takes a lot of effort to bring things in, have them stable, and draw the crowds so people know to go there. Like, that's the place to go. There's the library, there's the park. There's a number of and there's even Cornwall Centre itself. It often has little events that are in there, and so trying to think about, okay, so what's Scarth Street then? Like, if there's all these other things that are going on elsewhere, it's kind of in between it all. It's a kind of a connector. What's its role as a destination? Is it an event place, or is it where people go to relax while the event is going on? They just need a minute and they just want to go have a coffee and then they'll go back.
Right.
Not sure, but definitely thinking about how it relates to the rest of the things that are happening downtown is critical, because we don't want to duplicate. We know there's only so much a city of our size is able to really draw on different groups and that kind of a thing. So we have to make sure that that's part of the equation. Make sure we're setting ourselves up for success. And like I said, when construction's completed, we want this to be something that can be leaping off the page as a vibrant space, and not like, okay, well, construction's done. Now what do we do? Yeah. What do we bring in here now? But rather be able to hit the ground running. And hopefully that will mean over the next number of years, while kind of in between the decision on how it's moving forward towards the actual construction part, being able to trial a few things. Like, once we've heard and been able to collate all the information from people on what they want to see, like, okay, well, let's try a few things. Is this what you meant by patio space? Maybe it's a smaller patio than we thought. It doesn't have to be so broad, and maybe it needs to be smaller to feel more intimate and provide a different experience for people. But be able to trial and test a few things and see what works, what doesn't work in the space, while we wait up for the lead up for actual construction to occur. So then when it happens, we kind of have a sense of, okay, well, this is kind of the things that people really enjoyed and are looking for. Let's go. Cool.
Okay, we got about 1 minute. So if you could put, what's the craziest idea you've heard?
Oh, man.
I said laser tag already.
Laser tag.
Laser tag is up there for sure. I don't know. I feel like someone had an idea for a bit of an IMAX theater in the middle of. They wanted to bring back the streetcar and have an IMAX experience in that center, and it would be something that would be an attraction that people could come to Regina for.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting idea, a bit off the wall, but I don't know. That's probably the biggest one I've seen so far that I can think of, at least at this moment.
Right on. Cool. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Very informative. Yeah. All right, but we should move on to innovative revenue tools. But thanks a lot, Kim, for coming down. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. Really appreciate the time.
I gotta push a button, and here I'm pushing it now.
Get Local, CJTR's local business spotlight featuring amazing community-oriented supporters.
Vintage Vinyl has been your music and more store for over 31 years. Choose from the latest band tees and great selection of unique tie-dye, plus thousands of used records, CDs, and cassettes. You have to check out the 19-plus Bong World behind the beaded curtains. Shop in store or online at vintage-vinyl.ca and bongworld.ca. Vintage Vinyl and Hemp Emporium. Look for the big yellow awning downtown, 2335 11th Avenue in Regina and 132 Main Street North in Moose Jaw.
Get Local. Support those businesses that support 91.3 FM CJTR Regina Community Radio.
91.3 FM CJTR Regina Community Radio. Tuned into the community. Our programming is brought to you by community-minded organizations like the Regina and District Labor Council and by listeners like you.
And we're back from Innovative Revenue Tools.
We are back.
Hey.
Back to laser tag in the city hour.
You know what I wanted to do? I want to bring back the streetcar too, but I want to have an actual streetcar, so that there would be a station inside Cornwall Centre, because there's that big area between H&M, and the donut shop, and there'd be a station there, and you'd hop on the streetcar, and then the streetcar would go straight down Scarth Street and then go down to like the College Ave campus, and you could like go to the Dark Hall.
That would be great.
Wouldn't it be great? It would cost like $1 million, though.
Yes. Actually, what would be even better if you got on the streetcar, like at the end of Scarth Street there, and it took you down to the other end of Scarth Street.
Yeah.
Like to the end of the block. And that was it.
That
you
was
just go back and forth.
Back and forth, yeah. But I like the idea of it going like right past O'Hanlon's, and then like the drunks could like reach out and grab the streetcar, and it would just yoink them.
Yoink them down to Dark Hall.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so they could go see, I don't know, some cello or something.
Yeah.
Drunks love cello.
It is a well-known fact.
Yeah.
That a drunk loves a cello.
Yeah.
Universally acknowledged truth.
Hey, so election, there's been like developments and stuff.
It
is election season in the city.
Huge election stuffs.
Yeah. What's the big news for you? What's the thing that really stood out?
In a move that came as an immense shock to me and you, I'm sure, and everyone else, Lori Bresciani announced her run for mayor.
Yeah. So it's official now. We've only known for like 6 months. Really.
Well, we've had the feeling. We've picked up the vibe.
There's been a vibe. There's been a very definite "I'm running for mayor" vibe from Bresciani.
Now the vibe is solidified into a presence, and that presence is Councillor Bresciani.
Yeah.
So potential mayor.
I went to the launch.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was at the Arts Centre, and so I discovered that Councillor Bresciani, somebody in her orbit, has listened to our show.
Right.
Yes, and so she stopped me to say hello.
Very nice.
And it was all this was incredibly friendly and pleasant and everything. But she did want to respond to something that we said in our last meeting.
Right.
So I had raised the issue about her having connections, family connections in the development industry. And what's the deal, right? Like, if somebody running for mayor, is that going to be like too much entanglement? So, and we had pointed out that she had recused herself from the Housing Accelerator Fund stuff, but she hadn't recused herself from the land development charges debate. And what's up with that? Well, she told me. So first of all, she said that the Housing Accelerator stuff was could be possibly potentially used for housing development, and her son Josh is a housing developer, and so that could be perceived as too close a connection. And obviously, she also recused herself from anything to do with the Douglas Park development that he was building.
Okay,
but that the servicing fees are about land development, and she doesn't have anybody in her family who's involved in land development, which is a different thing. So that is her.
So the land is just where the housing goes, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
And yes. And, and the servicing fees will determine how much the land costs for the housing developers who are building the houses. So,
I mean, it's all. I mean, these things all sort of mesh in on some level. But I understand. I understand the answer.
Yep. So it was a good answer, and I appreciate her giving it to me. This question in the scrum afterwards, with all of the press, there were some journalists there who really raked her over the coals on this, basically saying, what does this mean if we have a mayor who will have these, who could occasionally have to recuse themselves from things that are related to development. And she said, well, a mayor is just like one vote out of 11 people, and I want to have a team that I can rely on to make decisions, so I don't have to be there for every decision. So that was her response to that.
Okay.
So, take that as you will.
Okay. If I were there, I would have said, excuse me, Councillor Bresciani, does this announcement mean that you are actually running for mayor?
Oh, yeah, I asked that, and then everybody snickered.
And then a follow-up. Does this mean that if you win this election, you will become the mayor of the city?
Oh, good question.
Yep.
Good question. I didn't think of that.
I thought I was going to show up and ask the really hard-hitting questions. Yeah. But I didn't want to.
Yeah, well.
So that's
there was coffee. You could have got food.
Oh, man.
Yeah, there were snacks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I would have said, that would have been my third question.
Yeah.
I would have said, Councillor Bresciani, are you going to eat that? And I would have pointed to a muffin.
Oh. And she would have just shrugged. Who's this guy?
And I would have said, your shrug, we can't see or hear your shrug.
Yeah.
We need to know, the public needs to know if you're going to eat that.
Yeah.
And then I would have been escorted out. But I would have taken the muffin. So.
Yeah. I was weirdly humid in the building that day. It was a hot day. I think nobody knows how to set a thermostat right now.
So what else was asked of Mayor Bresciani? The actual questions, not whatever I'm talking about.
Well, the humidity was a problem for me. Yeah. Well, there was that. She also talked her slogan is get away from, I can't remember how it goes. It's I actually had it in my bag, but it got soaked on the way, to my desk. Oh. And so it's just a
so
puddle.
Humid.
Yeah, it's so humid down here. And there's so much water coming in. But yeah, it's get away from the nonsense and get back to common sense. Something like that.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
Yeah, but
so tired of the nonsense.
She was on council then.
I know. But that's the thing when you're running. It's sort of the fact that you have a past is only, it's contingent on whether it's useful, right?
Yeah.
So you can point to your record, except when you want to pretend that you're going to sweep in with changes.
Right.
This is the weird doubled. The doubled presence of the political candidate.
Yeah, here it is. It's from nonsense to common sense, refocus Regina. And the stuff that she had to say was very much she wants to fix city council. So basically saying the council as it stands today is broken. And the things that she pointed to were the overspending, out of control spending, and the lack of collaboration.
Oh.
And as far as the spending, the one item that she pointed to multiple times was the indoor aquatic center that came in $80 million over budget.
Right. Well, I think I don't want to comment on the spending issue, but the collaboration one is interesting to me because I'm not sure. I'm wondering what she means by that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't really tell you. I'm not really sure.
Hey, are you not authorized to tell me?
Not authorized to tell you. Yeah. Well, I think there's this perception that council has been a bit dysfunctional and has been a bit spicy. Mm-hmm. I think she wants to take the spice out of council.
Oh, man.
Yeah, make it more bland.
Man, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like the spice.
But yeah, so with the indoor aquatic center, it was kind of frustrating because she talked about how we don't need a Taj Mahal. We don't need a Taj Mahal pool, but we do need a pool. And we need to rethink the pool. And, she kept pointing to the $80 million that came in over budget. But it's well, yes, it came in $80 million over budget, but $40 million of that is from delays.
Yes.
Because we've taken so long. 40% of that was construction inflation. And going back to the drawing board again with the pool is only going to add however many millions of dollars to the final price tag.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way you're going to get away with anything less. It's going to be another $40 million, I imagine.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah, and she also mentioned that this administration were going to be working on some other concept plans for the pool. But it's well, actually, they've presented you with 4 now. So they had a deluxe pool, a middling pool, and a lame pool. So they presented first, and council was like, well, we can't afford the fancy one, so they went with the middling pool.
Yes.
And so that's what we're getting now, and this has now been elevated to like deluxe status, and they've been given 2 other designs, which are like steps down from this mid pool.
Ugh.
So we've had four plans, and the reason we don't have anything more developed is because council has yet to commit, a dime beyond the planning stage. So
this is a nervous council we're dealing with.
yeah,
I think that's it. I think we've just got a council that is so worried about the future that it cannot commit to stuff now.
Yeah, that really feels like it. And you remember when we were talking with Councillor Stevens, he talked about how much council accomplished in its first year with this council compared to the 4 before it.
Right.
One of the things that had been going on for like years and years and years before this council came along was consultation paralysis, where things would come, people would scream, they'd see a bill, they'd send it back to administration for more consultation, and nothing ever got done. And Lori Brashani, that was one of the planks of her mayoral platform, is that she wants to make sure that we consult with the community. And once again at executive committee this week, she was all about the consultation and why haven't we talked to the businesses and why haven't we talked to the peoples. So
more consultation. All right.
Yeah.
It's fair to mention, though, that when Councillor Stevens or ex-Councillor Stevens was talking about that to us, he was winking at me the whole time.
Yeah, well, that's just because you're cute.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Good. I would hate to think that he was like pulling a fast one on us.
No.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so that's Lori Brashani. We do have like one other person who's like declared that they're running for mayor.
Yes.
And
another mayor declare.
Yeah, another mayor declare. So this is Chad Baczynski. This is another incredibly young, incredibly well coiffed young man.
Man, what is with this great hairstyles going on this election season?
Yeah. I don't know, man. So Chad Baczynski, his website is basically just a headshot.
But it's all you need when you've got hair like Chad Baczynski.
Well, you wait until you see it. I'm so jealous.
I haven't seen it yet, actually.
I am so jealous of Chad Baczynski's hair.
Okay, let's pull up the image.
Okay, here we go.
Gotta see it.
Chad
Whoa, look at that.
Baczynski. Yeah,
it's like this, like it just sweeps up from his forehead.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, it's like it was made in like a fine French bakery or something. That's
right.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Way to go, Chad. We cannot endorse anybody of it. Oh, there's more. There's another headshot.
Yeah. More great hair.
More great hair.
Yeah.
A lot of light on the face, not enough on the hair.
That's a good point.
I think if
he doesn't know where his strengths are.
I know. I mean, remember like Mayor Fougere? I mean, I think he got in partly on the strength of that like excellent hairstyle.
Oh yeah.
That enduring, because Fougere's hair looked like it could withstand like the elements.
Yeah. And it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You ever saw him outside? Not a spot moved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I think Chad could be our next great hair mayor.
Yeah. We should have that as a separate category.
Best hair mayor.
Best hair mayor. So Chad's planks in his platform currently are just safety and affordability, which he has like denoted with clip art.
Right. Free moose for everyone.
Yeah, free moose. And yeah, but there's not a lot of detail there. I hope, because like the people who are following council on Reddit are all about Chad Baczynski now. But he's the fresh face. He's the new boy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's really not a lot of detail in his platform. We just know that. Do you think? Here's a question.
Sure.
Do you think he would be able to advance Regina?
Hard to say. Yeah, there's so little detail there. I don't know how much advancing he's involved in.
Okay.
Yeah. We're on 91.3 FM CJTR Regina Community Radio. We're the Queen City Improvement Bureau, and we're talking about the city of Regina because that's what we do.
Yeah. I mentioned only because he's like a young, like unblemished looking guy with good hair. So I'm thinking who knows? He may be interested in advancing Regina.
Yes, he may be.
Yeah.
He may be. We will find out. There's still a couple of months. No, it's 3 months until the election. So.
Wow, really?
We're in September, October, November. Oh, yeah, no, 2.
2 months.
2 months. Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
You're like, about 1 month. Really? Okay, you drive a hard bargain, sir. How about 3 days? Okay.
So anyways, that's the state of the election right now. Stuff has happened. Council continues to do things.
As council should do.
The big one this week was Executive Committee. They considered a new location for the permanent emergency shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And the location was released on Friday.
Uh-huh.
It is 1600 Halifax Street. And this is
1600 Halifax.
Yeah, and this is the current location for the Eagles Club.
Okay.
So I think they're called a Loyal Order, like the Loyal Order of the Eagles, something like that. So they're in there now, but they've been informed that their lease is up and that they're not going to be getting their lease renewed. And the city wants to buy the building, and the advantages of the place are that it is quite large.
Mm-hmm.
It has a commercial kitchen. It's structurally in great shape. It is little over $1 million cheaper than the other location.
Okay.
And the location on Albert Street, the city would have had to have bought 2 buildings as a condition of the sale, one of which they weren't going to be using. So it would just, I don't know what they would have done. Probably pass that on, sell it as well. But who knows? So yeah, it would be $1 million cheaper. So the provincial government has already agreed we'll kick in $3 million for this space. The federal government has said we'll kick in $3 million, and this means the city will not have to kick in a dime for the purchase and renovation of the building.
Now, is there still a chance that somebody on council could go, what is this?
Yeah.
And say no?
Yeah, well, that's kind of what was going on. A lot of people came in. The other thing about this location is it is east of Broad Street.
Yes, correct.
In the Heritage neighborhood, but it's way in the north. So it's it's like northeast of the cop shop of the police station, right? So it's in a very sort of industrial area. There are like, at least a block from the closest housing. And it's very low density for businesses.
So is this north of Sask Drive?
Yeah, it could be. I can't imagine the map in my head. But all the businesses that were near it, even some businesses that were a little bit further flung, came out to oppose this, saying the neighborhood can't cope with this. The Heritage Community Association came out to say that this would be problematic for our community. And the Downtown BID came out to say that we were not consulted on this, and the street team will need extra funding to be able to cope with the added work that this will put on them. But I think what was the most shocking was how hard Councillors Bershani and Nelson argued against this, and they were the two that voted against it in the end. And ultimately what it came down to was Bershani wanted consultation with the businesses, and Nelson just felt that this was going to damage the business and stuff in the neighborhood.
Gotcha.
One reason why the city can't do a consultation on something like this, like a full-blown months-long consultation, is that once they release the location, it has to be once they have an interest placed on the place.
Right.
And so the sale has to happen fairly quickly after that, because if they we're thinking about buying this 6 months before they're going to do it, the value of that place goes up and somebody could scoop it from them.
Exactly.
Or it would just get more expensive. I wanted to play, actually. This is Councillor Nelson's argument for why she couldn't vote for it.
I'm curious.
This is the tail end of that here.
So what I do know with the businesses and their concerns, I have experience. I have 2 homes in my ward on Toronto Street that back onto the Lions Park and McDermott School. As of yesterday, I received a video of 2 men shooting up on the Ball Diamond with children there. I've had numerous phone calls from the teachers, from the principal, from people in the community, I have visited the homes myself. I have talked to the residents that live there in the supportive living. I have talked to the employees. I have seen the calls to service. And this is the next stage from the shelter. These are people that are in supportive living. They have the tools there. They have they have a nurse on staff. They have a dietitian. They have people working with them. So these people are 24/7 care of people working with them. And there is still huge amounts of problems. There's tents that are put onto the grounds. People are shooting up in the tents. I'm getting videos of this. So it's not made up. It's not pretend. So I'm struggling. 55 people in the shelter, 2,112 employees and customers in that area are affected. I'm having a really hard time, and my goodness, I jumped on the hill to save people. I've taken homeless people into my home. I've helped them get jobs. I've worked with them. I'm still in contact with them. What I struggle, though, with this shelter, it's not offering solutions for people to get better. And I know from working with people, if you're a drug addict or you're addicted and you don't want to get help, you're not going to get help and you're not going to get better. So we are dishing. And I don't care if it's federal money or it's provincial money. It is our tax dollars. It all comes from our pocket. So how can we as council, and I made another number here. So out of our employees at 25 hours a week, because we got part-time and some full-time, at $16 an hour, $844,800. These businesses are dishing into our employees, into people that are paying and contributing into our society. And we're going to put that much money at risk for 55 people that we don't even know want to get help. That we don't even know are on the road to recovery. They just keep going back and forth and back and forth. And Ritza says we have these services, but we have no number.
All right, so that was Councillor Tarina Nelson.
Yes.
Speaking about why she can't support the...
So the location doesn't matter, as it turns out.
No.
It's just the presence, because maybe somebody who might use the services there does not want to get help. Are these people the wanderers of whom she spoke at one time?
Maybe.
Who don't the people who don't want a home, so they wander the world and then find playgrounds to shoot up on.
Yeah. And speaking of amnesiac counselors, this location is going to have all wraparound care. Like, the goal is going to be run by Ritzis, and the goal would be to have all of the services. So this isn't even going to be one of those shelters where you come in the evening and they get kicked out in the morning. The residents will be encouraged to stay, to access the services that are available, and it will be looked at as a way as like an intake place to get people into housing. And so Ritzis runs another shelter. They're taking like 10 people out a month and finding them places to live. And that would be the goal here. This wouldn't be, I don't know what they're imagining this would be.
Yeah. I'm not sure what Councillor Nelson imagines either. I don't know. I just... Yeah. That ruined my evening.
I'm sorry, man.
That's okay.
Well, like, it's so maddening when you are listening to this play out over the course of like 6 hours, right? When you throw in all the delegations, and the people who see this have like fears. This is like something they're worried about. There's actually like a building in the neighborhood that used to be a halfway house for people who were being released from federal prison, and it's a lovely building. And apparently, it was no problem in the neighborhood. One of the people who came out to speak said, "Oh yeah, we were really worried about this, but it was fantastic. You wouldn't even find a cigarette butt near this building." And why they can't, generalize that to this shelter, that this shelter could be, comparably well run and just as, not a problem for the neighborhood.
Well, somewhere else in the city, a couple of people were using drugs.
Yeah.
And there were children nearby.
Yeah.
And drugs splash everywhere, right? So, children possibly get hit by drugs. I don't know. So, therefore, no tax dollars, in according to Tarina Nelson, should be spent on these things.
Yeah, and I don't think it's. If you're a counselor, I don't think you can just say, well, I don't know what to do, and so I'm going to vote against this. I'm going to vote against $6 million of funding for a homeless shelter that'll help 55 people, right? Because we had a location that was on Albert Street that was very prominent. It was close to residential, and that was deemed unacceptable because it was too obvious. Yeah. This is out of the way. It's in an industrial neighborhood. There's a deep buffer from residential. Mm-hmm. There are no uses nearby that are concerning.
There are no schools. There are barely any homes. I know. I looked up the location. It is what I thought it was. It is fairly far away, and it's close to the police station.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know where you can go if this location doesn't work for Councillor Nelson. There is no location in the city that will work for a shelter.
I think that's the end game.
Yeah.
Is that there is no location anywhere that is suitable.
Well, maybe the moon.
The moon.
Underground.
Oh yes. Yeah. Elon Musk can send people up to the moon.
Or you could we could build an island in the middle of Wascana Lake, and we could put our homeless shelter like Alcatraz in the middle of the lake.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Or we could just put people on Willow Island, which is already there.
I guess that's already there. Yes.
And then they can form their own society.
Yeah.
And then one day rise up and take over the city.
Yeah.
Sooner rather than later, I'm hoping.
Yeah. Yeah. The friggin' 80% of the people who are homeless in this city, and by consequence, the bulk of the people who are going to be using this facility, and we as settlers being ticked off because we might encounter these people over the course of a day.
Right.
The reason that they have the generational trauma that is leading to so many of these people ending up in shelters is because we stole their frickin' land.
Yes.
And we're frickin' worried about what their homelessness is going to do to us. It makes me furious.
I think Councillor Nelson should revive her practice of taking in homeless people and taking all these people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because apparently that's the solution.
I guess. We all have to take in one person.
Yes.
Anyways, I'm sure things will be more fun next week.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because this will be going to council next week. And there's that will be the penultimate council meeting for this council. Their last one will be in October.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, hey, one thing that was added to this right at the last minute by the mayor is they want to put together this thing called a neighborhood maintenance fund of some kind. So the city would explore having a fund so that if people near the shelter had graffiti and stuff that they had to clean up, they could apply to this fund to get that money reimbursed. So that would be new. If this happens, there's going to be a lot of these funds popping up all over the city. The city's going to have to start making them for everything, to buy off neighbors when they want to build rental housing or anything. Because, anyways, I guess we kind of have to go, hey?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Motion is passed. You've been listening to the Queen City Improvement Bureau on 91.3 FM, Regina Community Radio, tuned to the community. Your hosts are Paul Shen and Aiden Morgan. Music, as always, by Ryan Hill, a.k.a. Guidewire. We are broadcast 7 to 8 p.m. on Thursdays live and rebroadcast Monday afternoons 3 to 4 p.m. Our guest today is Kim
Sayre.
Thank you. Thank you. From the City of Regina. We're talking about Scarth Street. What else? There's nothing else. Oh, find us at queencityip.com. That's our website. Lots of good stuff on there. All right, that's it. Keep on improving, Regina.